Hi, and welcome to another episode of Hot Takes with me, the Silver Fox. Now, we know Humza Yousaf announced this great big mandate thing: if we get the most seats, the majority of seats, we'll push for independence. Then he realised it was a load of old rubbish, and so it was like, yeah, okay, we see it doesn't work now, and he's kind of rejecting his own policy. I expect it to be quietly dropped and just fight the next election on normal things, because they know if they lose, that's the end of their argument, isn't it? They're done. So it took him time. We realised it straight away. It took him a week, but he finally got it that it was a mistake. Well, that wasn't the only mistake. He announced a freeze in council tax. And I did the video of that a couple of days ago. And I said in the video how it seemed to be desperation. Back of the envelope stuff. Literally, I think minutes before his speech, he put this in. Because you could see the reaction. People didn't know anything about it. He hadn't talked to anyone. He hadn't talked to his cabinet colleagues. He hadn't talked to the councils. This was literally out of the blue. And I called it and I said that. And then yesterday, of course, it was confirmed by Shona Robertson. And so I did my little crowing video. Of course I did. You heard it here first, folks. Here's where you come for the truth. I was right. Everything was good. And here we are, 24 hours later. 24 hours later. And we're doing this report where Humza Yousaf regrets his council tax freeze announcement. That means that of all the policies they've announced, none of them are being advanced because they know they're all rubbish. Let's take a look. So, leak shows Humza Yousaf's regret over SNP council tax freeze announcement. The First Minister is under fire as civil servants were not cited on the policy. Nobody knew. He basically invented it standing on the podium. He went up there and he's probably looking at his notes going, I've got nothing here. This is all rubbish. Literally. And so he invented it on the spot. And Shona Robertson confirmed that. So he hadn't told the civil servants. He hadn't told his cabinet colleagues. He hadn't told the councils. Neil Gray came out and said he doesn't know how he's going to fund it. Nobody's got a clue. Nobody knows what they're doing. Buffoons in power. Honest to goodness. Anyway, Humza Yousaf said he regrets the way the SNP announced a council tax freeze without telling local authorities, a leaked document reveals. The First Minister is said to have admitted the surprising announcement was a setback for relations with councils. That's one way of putting it, because you can guarantee he can say they're freezing the council tax, but he won't be giving them any more money, will he? And if he does, we worked out yesterday, if he does, it'd be nigh on £1 billion he has to find. Money they simply don't have. The leaked paper by council umbrella body COSLA also claimed civil servants were unaware of the 1-year policy and had concerns. So nobody knows. Nobody. Scottish Labour Deputy Leader Jackie Bailey said, local government ignored, civil servants left in the dark. This incompetence has to end. And it's just, where does incompetence end and criminal liability begin? You have to wonder sometimes. Anyway, council bosses are furious. Yousaf backed to freeze at the SNP conference this week without informing them. They fear the policy will not be fully funded. Of course it won't. It hasn't got a chance of being. They haven't got the cash. And will leave them having to make massive cuts. And we ran through them as before, so we said all the different things in. It triggered an emergency meeting between council chiefs and Yousaf on Thursday night, during which the First Minister was made aware of town hall anger. Well, of course they're angry. You've got the Verity House agreements. That's going to be up in the air. That's all to do with minimum funding arrangements from central government to town and county councils. That's been arranged. That's been in place for years. And they have to have a minimum, and it has to rise with inflation by part of the agreement every year. But whether he honours that, it's not a legally binding thing. It's just, this is the way we do things kind of thing. It's like a gentleman's agreement. Anyway, part of the frustration centres around whether the announcement breaches the Verity House agreement. Boom, I didn't see it. I was there. Signed to smooth relations between councils and the government. This is, like I say, this is the way that they maintain that minimum funding. In a summary of the exchange seen by the record, Yousaf was asked why the Verity House agreement was ignored when the decision was taken and how trust could be rebuilt. It's going to be very difficult. Well, there's no point rebuilding it with Humza Yousaf. He's not going to be there long enough now. His days are well and truly up. The document says of his response, VHA was considered. Now, that's got to be utter bullshit because he only invented that afternoon. There's no way he checked the details of the Verity House agreement. Utter lies once again. And he said it was considered, but the decision was taken that something needed to be done to help all the households during the ongoing crisis, cost of living crisis. Except that this is a setback, but does not envisage this approach would be taken in future. It's plain up lying. He cannot help himself. There's no way he checked the Verity House agreement. But he didn't even know it existed. He's also asked if he appreciated how difficult it would have been for all political groups in COSLA to sign up to the VHA. The summary of his response stated, absolutely hears our anger and frustration and appreciates that actions now need to speak clearly to commitments in VHA. He's not writing this because this is coming from other people trying to put words into his mouth. He's not capable of understanding this. He's not capable of doing this. He lacks any basic understanding of how things work. And literally, this was literally invented. Robinson herself said yesterday, or day before yesterday, she said it, that this freeze was worked out literally on the morning of the conference, like a couple of hours before he went up. That's what she said. I reckon that was her spinning it because it was done minutes before he went up. But even if it was hours before, there's no way they studied the VHA, the Verity House Agreement. No way did they. I mean, it's bullshit. It's absolute. He just lies. He cannot help himself. He has to lie because he's got himself in a hole, and the only way out of it is to lie. He can't just say, I got it wrong, because he never gets anything wrong. Yousaf is said to have pointed to a consultation indicating 90% of respondents did not support an increase in council tax. Well, that's meaningless. Of course they don't want an increase, but then when they see the cuts, they have to make the choice. But sometimes you have to do things that that people don't want for their good, for their own good. He added, no decisions yet taken on income tax, which means we're looking at putting it up. The document also shows council chiefs asking Yousaf for an apology, to which the response was given as the FM regrets the process, but would point to effective joint work in other areas such as pay and NCS, National Care Service. So no apology. Oh, he regrets it, but he's not going to apologise for it. Because you never explain, never apologise, do you? Because an apology would be an indication that you got something wrong. Arrogant tit, isn't he? The First Minister is also said to have agreed the council tax freeze is a single-year policy. But it won't be, will it? Another section of the paper confirmed council leaders had not agreed to implement the freeze, and 75% of local authorities were planning tax rises of between 5 and 10%, basically along the lines of inflation. And that's just to cover the services they've got, which aren't brilliant, but keeps them ticking over. It added meetings were held with civil servants immediately after the announcement. They had also been unsighted on the announcement and are concerned about the ramifications for both the VHA and local government finance, which is now a bag of bolts, isn't it? There's nothing. The SNP did not inform their partners in the Greens about the freeze until the morning of the SNP conference announcement. They lied. I reckon they didn't know until they were watching it. You look at those faces and the reactions. There's no way they knew in advance. Cabinet did also not approve the policy. Cabinet did not even know of the policy. A Scottish Government spokesperson said the one-year freeze to council tax will benefit every council taxpayer in Scotland, except those who need to use council services for anything. It will not benefit anyone. Both the First Minister and Deputy First Minister have held constructive meetings with local authorities to discuss their concerns. Now, the only concern the council have got is, OK, if we can't put this up and we need this extra money that we would have got from putting it up, you are going to have to pay the difference. Have you got the money? And the answer there is no, they don't. The Scottish Government remains wholly committed to the Verity House Agreement, they say, and is continuing to work with COSLA on new fiscal frameworks for local authorities, which is their way of saying we're looking to cut money further. We're also working on longer-term reforms to the council tax system, because we're looking to cut it further, which are being considered by the Working Group on Local Government Funding, and we're chairing jointly with COSLA. We basically want to get rid of everyone, get rid of all the councils. We rule Scotland directly. Fear of this space station will keep them in order. He really is trying to turn himself into a dictator, but this is just stupid beyond belief. What else do you expect? Coming up. Sheer desperation, sheer panic. It's one of those things where when you get an imbecile sitting up on that stage, reading his notes and going, this isn't very good. I know. And he has this really brilliant idea that he pushes through without a second's consideration because in his mind it sounds good. Then later he gets told the full reality of what he's just said. And he has to try and spin it, and then they have to create lies. Oh, we looked at the VHA. No, you didn't. You clearly didn't, because it was only invented on the spot. You hadn't had time to do that. You certainly didn't have time to tell the councils or the civil servants. So any claim that you discussed it in advance is clearly a lie. What else do you expect from a man who has no clue what he's doing? And it is going to be so damaging. Sure, nobody likes the council tax. Nobody likes paying it. Nobody likes when it rises. But the reality of the world is we have to. But you pay a little bit more each year. By freezing it, you're doing a real term cut. And when you do real term cuts, people lose jobs, services are cut, facilities are closed, and it doesn't benefit anyone. And so you have to make a choice. Now, unfortunately, the people of Scotland seem to have made the choice that the SNP are the ones that need to be making the decisions. And it seems that has been a mistake, because the decisions they're making are uniformly and without exception the wrong ones. They got to learn. Never mind. I'll stop now. Thank you very much for watching. If you like what you see in here on the channel, please hit the subscribe button, ring the bell, leave a like, leave a comment, please share the video. And until next time, stay safe, stay well, and I will talk to you later.